In reality, only a select few individuals hold the power of influence. Not a pounce over a luxury item never to be owned, but real influence over police, governments, and even clandestine fraternities. My true story is so controversial that I invite you to comment and even question my integrity. Episode 12. Justice on Appeal. We were getting into the flow of the forensics now. Remember, we're amateurs. We're just finding our way through, but we're learning. We're interested. You couldn't imagine how interested. In parallel to all that's going on, we're doing the visits, paying the funds, listening to family members suffering. It's going on years. It's now 2008-9. So 8 or 9 years of this bombardment, strange things. The evidence of Dr. Margaret Stark was important. The fact it was hidden, interesting. Paul Harris not doing anything with anything, very odd. The juror, how did he forget? The importance of Dr. Margaret Stark's evidence was that she confirmed that aside Wickes admitting to carrying out the murder, she would have supported the defence case that was put forward for my brothers. But in particular, in that combination of alcohol and drugs would have caused him to act like an automaton. She agreed with that, even on the low doses that were found in his poorly taken, mislabelled and swapped samples. Does it sound like a fit up to you yet, or should I just keep going? Remember, Wickes admitted it. It's a fit up already. So then there was other things that could have helped with the calculation of the drink and drugs. Drink, for example. It's no secret that my brothers were drinking. They're in a pub. They went there to drink. They were sitting by a till. The barmaid would have served them and turned to the closest till to her. Bizarrely, that till, according to the police, was damaged beyond repair. Somehow it had fell off the back bar, a till, and smashed, only falling about a metre. It would have broken, maybe the corner or something, or remember it's plugged in as well, and those leads are not too long, but let's say the lead was very long. Let's say it was so long that it would have allowed the till to fall onto the floor, and let's say that the till would have been broken. How? The reason that the police corrupted the evidence and said that the till was broken beyond repair and had it removed from the scene, supposedly to be replaced by another till, was because in that till would have been the till rolls, and the till rolls would have shown the rounds of the amounts of drink that were being bought. The problem the police had was that there was evidence from numerous witnesses that my brothers were drinking vodka, followed by Jack Daniels and Coke. Now, they only drank doubles. So do I. And they would have drunk a few of them, as do I. So if the police had let the till stay on the bar and the till rolls remain locked inside, now even if the till was broken beyond repair, still the till rolls would have stayed intact, surely. Unless, I don't know, perhaps it set fire to itself. I say jokingly, but look at the evidence. The till was important, and yet the police fabricated this evidence and removed it from the scene. Every way you looked, the police were hiding and covering up evidence, obviously to assist Wickes. Wickes was related to Blundell's. Blundell's was said to be grasses. There was no evidence, unfortunately, on the Blundell's being grasses at that time, but the rest there was evidence of. Now, fortunately, the light relief, I'll say that under the immense pressure, the courts, family courts and the distress cause, the light relief was my daughter. And she was schooled in Montessori schools when we eventually found where Tara was, back in Hampshire, hidden behind a line of trees, bizarre things like a military base, let's say that, owned by Coleman's. The area Coleman's must have disappeared completely. And whilst an estate agent and truly believing that renting was of no use, with nearly 500 grand in her back pocket, she decided to rent a property rather than buy. So anyway, I was going through the hurdles of the family courts, and I soon understood that one of the most important people in the whole thing, not the judge, not Tara, not me, was Kafkas. A Kafkas officer, an officer for the local area children-related officer, who would assess me, the situation, and upon her report would give me the golden pass for contact. It wasn't the Yummy Mummy Club in Putney. No, that would only give me a respite. That would only give me a pass, a short pass, into the room where I'd overcome the hurdle of understanding a bit more about how to look after a child, when the reality was I understood exactly what it was like to be a middle-aged woman bitching about her husband's alleged affairs, wanting to go to the next opera, and also the latest Jimmy Choo. Kafkas was my focus, and I was in the fortunate position I'd jumped the hurdles. I'd been to the contact centres, only the contact centres. I think I was awarded a couple of days outside. Remember, now we're being treated like my brother. Parole. I'm getting parole with my daughter. All at the behest of Tara. But I did it. Jumped the hurdles. I did what I had to do, just to have that contact. Kafkas recommended in her report I have contacts and holidays, alternative weekends with our child. This infuriated Tara because her driving force was to stop shared contact. Because had I, one, shared contact, then she and whoever was pulling her strings could not claim any money from me. You see, a lot of fathers' positions change completely. And we all should pay our way. I agree. But remember, in my experience and many other fathers, these women, ex-wives, ex-partners, mothers, supposedly, weaponize the system to damage the father, when ultimately all they're damaging is the child. The driving force of Tara was to stop at all costs any joint contact, because if I got to that threshold, she would not have been able to stick it into me anymore. I would have seen our child on equal terms, at equal times, alternative holidays, Christmas, birthdays, an arrangement, a parenting agreement. But no, she was having none of it. And she had shacked up with a man, a loving partner, who was nearly 30 years her senior. Was it because of his good looks, charming, dazzling personality, wit? Possibly. I'd like to think so. He was a multimillionaire. Her daughter, I had no decision-making, schools, parental responsibility is a myth. You know, if you think as a father or a parent you've got it, you should have it. It's an automatic right in certain circumstances, and I were in those certain circumstances, but yet I wasn't being afforded any parental responsibility. Removal from the baptism, nothing to do with the medical arrangements for our child, schooling, another one, gone. But I still had to find a way through. And I kept going. Fortunately, at this moment, even though my clients were all over the place and coming together in what I called in my defense statement, collusion. So I say that these clients of mine were colluding against me. It was obvious. All denied it. No. We don't bump into each other. No, we don't meet each other. No, it's all straight up. But I had an amount of money to myself, even without the profits that were left in the jobs, and some more. Some 700,000 nearly were outstanding to be owed to my company. You can imagine. But anyway, I had enough, barely enough. And I was in a good position. I had Kafkas on my side. I needed a good barrister. I had TWM solicitors who were doing well, and I was advised to instruct Miss Jane Probin of counsel at 4 Paper Buildings in Temple as junior counsel to a Mr. Jonathan Cohen QC, who was then the head of chambers at the same chambers before becoming a justice of the High Court. Now, Mr. Cohen QC rightfully commanded a high rate, and his clerks laughed when he was due to leave chambers and come to attend court for me. But at £16,000 a day, which may seem cheap to some of the people listening to this, but to others, and certainly to me, 16 grand is a lot of money for a day's work. But what was his day's work to be? I was just about to find out, and as I walked into the courtroom, I could see that there'd been some communication, some exchanges between both sides' legal representations, and the other side, Tara, that is, the other side she's known as now, has also been out and found a formidable opponent to meet with my Mr. Cohen. Her name was Caroline Wilborn. She was said by some to be an absolute Rottweiler. Highly regarded, highly respected, but absolutely on the money. I don't think 16 grand's worth of money, but Mr. Cohen was in silk, she wasn't. And that was a comment that the judge had to pull Mr. Cohen on when he said it to the judge at the beginning of the hearing. Just after that, he said, look, give me 15 minutes with Miss Wilborn and we'll come back. And that's what they did. They came out, they sat just across the room. They couldn't find any rooms, private rooms, so they just sat in a couple of chairs, one file on his lap, and I saw him handing pages to her, flicking across the file. Her face fucking green, red, blue, black, orange, fucking steaming, fuming, banging herself, banging this down, banging that down. All he did calmly turned the pages just like this, one after the other. Not many of them either. 15 minutes, about 12 minutes actually. 15 he was back in the court. They came out and he said, we have an agreement by both parties for you to have contact. Not shared contact, but a lot more contact than you've had. And not in a contact centre anymore. 16 grand, worth every penny. After this, and no matter what Tara had concocted, there were no other girlfriends to find, and try their luck in defaming my good name, have me nicked, whatever it was. I had to go back to the court just for one final round because it seems that there'd been an application for a change. We turned up at court and the judge looked at barrister Jeffrey, another good barrister, supposedly. Oh, I hear he had his own family issues with his son, if those allegations are right, of course. Funny, karma, how things go round it. But anyway, the judge is speaking, just reinforcing what had previously happened. All of a sudden, Tara's barrister turned around and said, we have reason to believe that Darren's brother has just been released. What do you mean? The judge said. Well, his brother was convicted of manslaughter, very serious offence. He will no doubt be staying at Darren's home, and I suppose Darren, under the current order, expects for the child to stay at the same home. We think that this is inappropriate and potentially harmful to the child. I said, what evidence do you have of this? Oh, just the medical records of Paul. Tara had kept the medical records as a weapon, a further weapon, just in case she needed them. The medical records didn't say anything other than he's been in a mental hospital for manslaughter. I was like, just serious, isn't it? And the judge, as I said before, has to be careful. I had the positive Kafka's report that had no mention of Paul's release. They wouldn't have, because his release was only the day before. What shocked me was, how on earth did Tara know about it? There were only 6 people that knew that. Paul, myself, mother, father, grandmother, and later, not the day after this, and that was it. No one else, other than obviously the people at the powers to be, but that would have only joined the dots to Tara even more. But taking it on its face and with all remoteness, how would Tara, let's say she's not involved in anything, have known of this happening only the day before? The judge erred on caution and almost retracted the positive order that she'd agreed to, and I was back in a contact centre. Couldn't believe it. I got home, I phoned my dad. I said, look, I told him what happened. I said, where the fuck have they got hold of this information from? I have no idea, son. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm not blaming anyone. I trusted my family 100%. The fact I'm even in a conversation about it is embarrassing. Should never have mentioned it. But I didn't know what to say, who to talk to. I just lost the chance of having holidays, Christmas, family time with my daughter in an instant. I'm not blaming the court. I appreciate that they need to be cautious. And we're talking about a very serious offence. They don't know that. My brother's been fitted up and the bloke who did it admitted it. They don't know that. Did Tara know that? I don't know. Did she care? I don't think so. But what I did know was that Tara had an insider into my own private family business. The only insider close enough at that time was my dad's wife. Now you'll remember that she was introduced to my father in suspicious circumstances. The next door neighbour we never talked to, couldn't stand her. She'd come out of the woodwork and introduced this woman, Carol with an E, to my father. Bizarre. Next thing, I'm refused the inevitable, and I've pointing the finger at my dad's new wife. Now my man was as angry as I was, because both he and my mum had given up their lawful rights to contact with their granddaughter so that I could have contact, because it was so limited. I said, look, can you ask her? I know, look, you know what I'm saying. I said, but look, she's the only one close enough. All right, son, he said, I'll have a chat with her. I'll phone you back in about an hour or so. Give me a minute. Let me ease into this. He called me back. I said, I can't believe it. So what's that? Tara and Carol have been talking on the phone for some time. What? Yeah, he said Carol said that it's stopped now, but no one else knew. She told Tara about Paul's release. Oh, fucking hell. Well, she just told you that. She just revealed that just now because I put it on. Fucking said this to her. Why didn't she tell you? Oh, she's so upset. She said she felt pressured by Tara. So how long's it been going on? She said, a while. We were having people pointing to us all the time. Jimmy, Nikki, and others. Way up with us, Shelley and Tara and whoever else was on it as well. But here we have concrete, absolute evidence that someone in our very private inner circle, my father's new wife, introduced under very suspicious circumstances. And her behaviour, remember, not wanting her father's sons, me, even in their difficult circumstances, to talk to him. She was definitely a wedge. Conversing with the enemy. Fucking idiot the roof. No, son, no, fucking no, blah, blah, blah. It's my wife, he said, fucking... I was like, fucking what? Well, like, fucking, I'm sure it's an innocent. I said, fucking enough. 2008, 9, that was. I never spoke to my father again after that. To this day, 16 years later. If you can say anyway, in that way. My hero was gone. I had to move forward. Bert was about to receive a move to Cat D prison after serving what was close to 12 with a 14 recommended. His parole status finally arrived after massive objection, as was Paul. And it will be of little surprise that the levels of determination to stop Bert from achieving any positive move in his sentence was the highest on the agenda. So what we did, we went to see a solicitor. Her name was Susan Twyman, Lansbury Worthington Solicitors in Hammersmith, to discuss Bert's move to Cat C. As we went into her office, she said, I've received the files of yours, Bert, and I feel that it's my duty to inform you that there's a brown envelope at the back of the file. I wouldn't usually receive this, although I have done on occasion. Spit it out, I thought. She's got to have something to say, so she went on. Look, in the brown envelope are various communications, letters, etc. from the mother of the deceased and demanding that you're never to be released from prison. She said that's pretty much usual. But what's slightly unusual, she said, this is a supporting letter from a Mr. David Bright, MBE, who I think was the ex-commander of Essex Police and the officer that oversaw your case. What? Bright is continuing to try and stop Bert's case, I said. After all these years, he's still got a hand in it. Well, she said, it seems so. Now, what's Bright's motive? Well, no, it's what Bright's motive. Ben Cobber. There's the motive. But he was on the cruise ship selling his book. Clearly, he didn't want any hassle with that. But more than that, he wouldn't want a big case of corruption to come out and wrap itself around him, as it's going to. Because as you listen to this, I'm going to reveal the case against Bright and his corruption and terminate his career and those that support it. We moved on, investigating, became quite good, very determined. I'd understood that there was a long list of conspirators. As I was going back through the files and papers and filing them off back at my mum's place, I opened the bag that Tara had mistakenly handed to me when giving me my belongings. There were letters, emotional letters from her father to her. Contact. Please let me have contact. The mother intervening. It was a mirror of her own life. There was a cassette. So I played the cassette, which was taken just before the time I met with Tara. This is a cassette with Tara and a medium. Tara is clearly at a fork in the road and wanted some guidance on what she should do. She started telling the medium about her 3 potential suitors: Robert, who wanted to buy a cottage in the country, she put it; Alexander, the property developer, had a wife and children; and the builder, that's me, who appeared to excite her. Let's hope that was me. In addition, came the revelation that Tara had previously been married. She never told me that. Her partner, and possibly herself, was in receipt of some mental health treatment, either being sectioned or voluntarily. What's going on here? Was she conscious of the fact of the importance of Brian's medical records because she'd fucking been to one? Or was it something else? There was another fucking pin to fucking work with. In the bag were these strange, pre-drafted drawings, black and white. I showed Paul. He said, oh, fucking hell. I remembered him at Rumwell. He said they used to fucking hand them out and hope that we'd sit there out of our nut and fucking colour them in. He said, she's definitely been in a nut house. He said, I'll fucking tell you that 100%. He said, if they're hers, and that's how come out of that bag, he said, someone, either her, been in a fucking nut house because it's exactly the same fucking print-offs that we used to get. My mum was tasked with finding Tara's ex-husband, which she done with ease. So we drove to his parents' home in Surrey. I got out and knocked on the door. And as soon as I mentioned I knew Tara, I was told to clear off. And as the ex-mother-in-law, screamed, she's caused enough trouble in our family and Stephen doesn't want any more to do with her. All right, I get it. Fucking, I gotcha. I understand completely. My mum dug even deeper and discovered that Tara's mum had had an affair with a male 10 years her junior named Robert, which led to her divorce. Robert moved into the family home whilst Tara lived there. We found his address, so we drove out to meet Robert. And along the way, as I'm driving along, I noticed that there was potentially a car following me, silver grey Audi. I kept looking at it. I'd seen on the news or read somewhere that fucking 3 times round a roundabout if you think you're being followed. So I did. Tiny little roundabout. Barely see right across it. Round 3 times. Oh, it was so obvious. Fucking car pulled out, continued round with me. So I went down the next turn off. My mum was saying, hang on, what are you going round about for? You lost? The sat nav, just look at the sat nav. didn't explain straight away because I was concentrating without being overly looking at this car behind me. I put my foot down. The car behind reciprocated. I booted it down the road. As I was going along speed, I saw a lay-by on the left. Cars dotted about, parked next to a piece of open ground. I turned to my mum and said, I'm going to throw it in a minute. Hang on, she went, what? And when she said what, I just fucking hit the brakes and threw it. I just about squeezed in and barely parked behind this car without touching it. With all the braking and all the skills and all the fucking turning. I've looked round, no indicator. I've looked round, this fucking Audi is behind me, parked. So it was on, he's following me. I waved in my mirror. He just looked. I carried on, blanking him, kept following, this way, that way. Now I'm following a sat nav, so he's just following me. Came to a set of lights. As I did, I just pulled through the bare turn of green and amber, and he locked up because a car was coming across from the crossroads. I'd got a bit of the way in front of him. So I sped up a bit, followed the sat nav, and I pulled round to a turning and into a little cul-de-sac and the address of Robert. I went up to the door and knocked. Hello, he said. I said, Robert? He went, yeah. I said, I'm here about Tara. I thought he'd had a heart attack. The colour just drained out of him. I don't want nothing to do with that family, he said. I said, look, I appreciate that, mate. He said, but let me tell you a little bit about what I'm going through. And he sympathised. He said, look, all I'm going to say is, he said, Tara's mum had 2 young children at the time of this affair, babies, according to him, Tara's sisters. He said, I moved into the family home and became a bit of a father figure to Tara and her siblings, whilst Tara's father fought poverty in the courts to try and get contact with his children. He said, fucking join the club. He concluded that he'd had the affair with Heather, Tara's mum, and intended to leave her and the children. Now, this is his allegation. Tara's mum tried to stop him to leave. And because he wouldn't, because he'd met a younger bird, Tara supposedly forcibly alleged that he had mishandled or made improper moves towards Tara. Now, I can't go any further than that because I don't know whether it's real or not real. Immediately after, he said, I'd been with the mother long enough, but I left. I got the courage and got out of there. He said, but I was left with paying a mortgage for nearly its whole duration. I paid the maintenance for the children, and I was otherwise shafted through the courts. I thought, fucking hang on a minute. I know the feeling. This is fucking mirror. I was looking in a mirror then. Our history repeats itself, I thought. His parting message to me was, look, I work at a local school and this is all purely allegation. And yet if this was made known to the school, they'd suspend me. I've got my own children now and I don't want this to have any effect on them. It would be detrimental to their life. So please, go about your business. I've told you what I know and please let me get on with my life. And I agreed. The time had basically arrived. And I thought, with all this injustice in the world, I'm going to set up an organisation that's going to challenge the establishment, going to challenge and fight for other people who are going through this shit. Criminal cases, any case, criminal first. I was getting quite into the criminal review. I'm not a lawyer, not trained, but my outward approach, looking in a kind of common sense and challenging every aspect approach, made me a formidable amateur detective. And I don't like using the word detective, it's fucking wrong. Amateur investigator, let's say that. But I was doing quite well in the circumstances, even though I was being run through the ringer on my own criminal fucking challenges. I decided to set up or found a registered charity named Justice on Appeal to fight for people who were struggling to fight for justice for themselves. It was to be the first pro bono criminal appeals charity in the country. We took a break. I took the family to Tenerife. Paul came as well. Me, Mum, Paul. Sitting outside having some lunch and had a call from the Charities Commission after my application. And after, a conversation where I think it hinged on the fact where I was asked a question about, fighting for justice. And I said, well, look, my mum's a trustee or something like that. So mum's a trustee and you wouldn't upset your mum, would you? And they kind of like took a double take, all those on the phone. They went, oh, okay, and they approved it. Now, I'm sure it was because of that. It's just one of those things, again, intuition. All right, I made the right application, all the right forms, et cetera, et cetera. But this was a charity. I couldn't use it for my own help, even though I probably needed it, or definitely needed it. Counts of fraud, another 2 were added, another 2 clients, and now I had 7 counts of fraud to deal with. I had my daughter, family court, I had magnet, contract. As I returned from Spain, I looked for an office for the charity and chose the Inns of Court or thereabouts. And, office space being so expensive, I chose to take an office on a boat on the River Thames, HMS President. I put an ad in the Students' Board in the BPP Law School and gained interest from the students there wanting to work on real-life criminal cases. The charity then moved to Riverbank House on Putney Bridge, Fulham, and I'd spend time with Jan Sorensen, who was the manager, and another lady who we fondly called Juanita. The reason we called her Juanita, she was a receptionist, is because she had one tooth in her mouth. Bless her. The charity had employed a woman called Wendy Brown, an Australian, who had worked for Heavy Equipment Finance Australia, Pty Limited, in Melbourne. She'd informed me of others who realised justice from injustice, and she introduced me to a lady called Gloria Morrison, who in turn introduced me to Karen Horlock and Janet Cunliffe. These were parents claiming injustice for their sons, loved ones, or people close to them. They'd all meet up at the Edgar Wallace pub at 40 Essex Street in London as they formed a new organisation called Joint Enterprise Not Guilty by Association, or JENGBA for short. I went along to hear more and more, and as I walked in the room, I could see the disgruntled and devastated parents hanging on hopes and dreams. I knew the feeling, I knew the look, still carried it. They were hopeful that this JENGBA would help them on these criminal cases, but they had no idea what they were facing. None of us did. Gloria asked me to meet with her at her Notting Hill home, so on arrival I went in, sat down, and as I'm walking through, or just before I sat down, I could see the bundles of papers and files under the stairs of her masonette. Scattered across the floor were others in the living room. Then we went into the little kitchen and sat at a small table where she asked me to read some of the letters she'd received each week. I picked up each letter, and they were often personalised. Pictures drawn on the envelopes to attract the interest as pick it up from the floor first. Knowing that gave me a sad feeling. I was still in the thick of many injustices. I felt sad to read their stories, I suppose in the same way as Kerry Max Cook felt about mine. One law student stood out amongst others and asked to take a leading position. His name was Fareed Boda, a Welsh national, Indian heritage, and helpful in ways he knew of and some he had neither any idea of. Any funds I had left with were dwindling, and as a charity, Fareed advised me to look for funders. He introduced me to another budding lawyer training at BPP Law School, named Miss Janini Favour-Lingram. She had an equal genealogical equivalent as Fareed. Janini was also the director of a few limited companies and was developing a film company named Fuego Fire Limited. Her father was a chauffeur and was yet another passion and company of hers. It soon became apparent that interest in justice in appeal was developing fast, and I received communication that Dr. Michael Norton, founder of the Innocence Project, was upset about justice on appeal becoming so popular with his students. The feedback I'd received from those working on the Innocence Project was that the Innocence Project was allegedly disorganised and there was no real leadership or any other point of interest. We can agree to disagree, but these are the words of others. I met again with Gloria and her JENGBA crew a few more times. I'd always feel that miscarriage of justice was one element of their agenda, not a JENGBA, and more often than that was a more political message behind the scenes of a left-wing community, widening its scope, trying to give popularity to the legal system. Gloria would often mention her admiration of Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour Party, and its far-left ideals. That aside, JENGBA had initiated interest from those incarcerated looking to appeal their convictions and had no real ability at that time to carry out the reviews of criminal appeals. Gloria asked me if Justice on Appeal would assist JENGBA in carrying out reviews of the cases she had initiated. She didn't want to deal with them, she just wanted to run her activist movement, left-wing activist movement. I agreed. So she sent over approximately 200 cases and the details of those incarcerated. Gloria added that she wanted to keep the matter a secret, as there were others supporting JENGBA who had a deeper political agenda than even her. These far-left extremists were strategically placed at the Inside Times publication, Panorama TV, a BBC TV programme in the media, and Bob Woffington was another name presented to me by Gloria. I have received many emails forwarded from Cheryl Varley at the BBC, Catherine Rushton, the Daily Mail, all talking about the support for the Labour. Bob Woffington is behind us, they said. We're getting so much momentum. Prison Times, Parliament, all these things in their communication. Karen Horlock, one of the JENGBA crew, was very friendly, suspiciously so, and really just wanted to establish justice for her son, Kelvin, who, along with 3 others, co-defendants, were convicted of murder. A lot of the people around Jenga were mums that wanted justice for their children and were hanging on Jenga and Gloria Morrison to help them. Gloria, on the other hand, while she was trying to do her best for joint enterprise cases, really manipulated the situation. Karen came to me and said, look, I don't believe that Jenga are going to get around to reviewing my son's case. Would you get justice on appeal to do it for me? Well, so yeah, of course, that's what we do. We've got students from different law schools. We're going to Bedford to engage with them. They're all very interested in what we're doing. Couldn't have been happier. She said, look, I shouldn't really be saying any of this, but Jenga are planning to place a mole inside Justice on Appeal at the behest of Woofington at the Inside Time and others at the far left. These are the anti-Semitic side of the party. There's a lot of them. Now, I wasn't particularly happy with that, and I thought I'd give them a very wide berth. I'm not interested in anti-Semitism in any form. We carried out our due diligence on her son's legal representation as he'd been refused legal aid. Therefore, Justice on Appeal was able to assist him in his appeal. It was at that point, and with thanks, Karen said to us, look, I'm going to introduce you to the funder of Jenga. I said, well, that's very kind of you. Who is it? He said, it's Michael Woodford, CEO Olympus Europe. He's just flown into London with 2 of his female colleagues. I can get him to come and see you in the boardroom at your Fulham office. And that's what happened. I met with the 3 of them in the boardroom, told him about what we were doing. He was a little unnerved that I knew it was him who was funding Jenga, a left-wing activist-based organisation, and whether it was because he wanted the silence or was happy to support another justice-based organisation, albeit a legitimate registered charity rather than a name. He did that. And Olympus paid $7,500 into the bank account of Justice on Appeal. Things went on like this for a while, and funding soon disappeared. All of a sudden, I got a call out of the blue from the largest law firm in England, Irwin Mitchell, in Chancery Lane. Hello. I've been asked to give you a call and arrange a meeting at my office. Would you like to attend, say, next Tuesday? Well, that's very kind. And whom I ask would like to see me? I'm Sir Michael Napier of the pro bono envoy to the Attorney General. Also at the meeting will be Sir Robin Knowles, CBE, who's the head of law works and the pro bono units, and I believe that Kate Wormsley of the Law Society will also be in attendance. Great, I'll be there. I went to the office, walked in, sat at a very small round table. Michael Napier, buzzing around the room, pacing. Very short room, back and forth, took 3 steps, and he was turning around 3 steps, and it's a very small room. The Attorney General has asked me to bring you in and have a conversation, Darren. We understand that Justice on Appeal has come out of nowhere, actually, and it's taken everyone by storm. We're getting a lot of positive feedback from students and lawyers and others that are really fond of this. The problem is, and the reality is, that you're supporting the next generations of barristers, politicians, judges, helping them in their careers, for which they will be very happy and amenable to you. On the other hand, you're managing the criminal underworld. You're trying to get criminals that are convicted of serious offences out of prison. What's your agenda, Darren? Now, I sat there for a minute and I thought, all right, oh, he's about right, actually, although when you put it like that. But I didn't have an agenda other than justice, so I delivered it. Justice. That's it. And he looked at me to say, like, fuck, is it justice? You're fucking going to try and run things. You fucking come out of nowhere wrong. And no, it is, in my instance, just justice. Listen in to each episode as I engage you in my personal journey of how a boy growing up on a council estate in Essex would eventually own the most exclusive online private members club in the world.